Hello everybody, my name is Liu, and today we are going to talk about champion allies. So for champion ally, I have a Redline 200, I have a AoE trait line, yellow line, one-handed sword, so I can dual wield. I also have a hybrid rune. The hybrid rune is for both red line and yellow line. And not only that, I have swappies. I have one sword swappy. I make sure it is one-handed swappy, and also have a rune swappy. So for my 200, I have Relentless Strike damage, Wild Attack damage, Brutal Strikes damage, Critical damage multiplier, Battle Frenzy cooldown, Ferocious Strike cooldown. All 5 of these skills are really good in Redline. If you try to look at other legacies, there's really nothing else to get. For example, area of effect. You don't really do AoE when you're in Redline, so this is very much wasted. Fear Nothing cooldown I have on a swappy, so I don't use it. Feral Strikes, when you're using a 200, your Feral Strike only does a 2 attack compared to your Brutal Strike is 3 attacks. So Brutal Strike is much higher damaging than your Feral Strike. As you can see, when you compare Feral Strike with Brutal Strike, every aspect your Brutal Strike is going to be higher damaging, and it only costs 1 extra fervor compared to Feral Strike. The only reason I would ever use Feral Strike is for the corruption removal. Hamstring. Hamstring is a very low damaging skill. The only reason for Hamstring is for the run speed, which you can use in places like moors. Horn damage. Your horn doesn't do much damage, so your horn skill is a CC skill. Rend. I don't even have Rend in Redline, so there's no reason to get Rend. The Power Restore. The Power Restore is not that significant. At full fervor, your Power Restore without the legacy is 2k, but with the legacy it's only 2.1k, so you only get 100 extra power restore. It's really not that significant. Sprint Evade. You're not a tank, you don't need evade. True Heroics Power. That one gives other people power. Champion is the most power hungry class out there ever since the Hunter revamp, so there's no reason for a power hungry class to give power to other classes that you don't even need power, so it doesn't even make sense to have this legacy. So I have 1 extra empty slot, so I get Might for some extra physical mastery instead. Now my 100 sword is for AoE, so I want to have a lot of AoE oriented skills and legacies. For example, Rend armor reduction. So Rend now will remove 14k of armor value, which means you'll deal very high physical damage onto mobs. Battle Frenzy cooldown, so that you can regain your fervor quickly. Critical damage multiplier. AoE skill damage, Rend Bleed, and Ferocious Strike. I get Ferocious Strike because it is one of the few skills that deal fairly high damage despite using a 100. As you can see, Ferocious Strike, this is a one-hander. It does 9k all the way down. But if I equip my 200, the damage is 12k, 12k all the way down. It is a lower bleed though, higher bleed damage when you're using dual wield, lower bleed when you're using two-hander. So as you can see, the damage it really isn't significantly different. So your Ferocious Strike is actually a very good skill in both yellow line and red line. So Ferocious Strike and also Feral Strike are the two skills I like to use when using single target strikes. So as you can see, Feral Strike, when you have dual wield, the Feral Strike actually has 3 attacks. Compared to two-hander, you only get 2 attacks. I put Might for the last open legacy because there's really no other there aren't really any other legacies that are good. You can argue that Wild Attack is good, but Wild Attack is still a strike skill. Most of your AoE traits don't really boost Wild Attack. Second Wind Power Restore. I already went over that. That legacy only increases your power region by maybe 1k, so it's really not that much. Sorry, not 1k, 100. So it's not that much. Now let's go on to the rune. My rune is a hybrid, which means it's used for both red line and yellow line. Rest of the class item legacies are mostly power cost reduction or tank line related. So that's why I don't have a separate rune for both yellow one and then red. I just combine them together. As you can see, I have Fury of Blades. I have Devastating Strike, which is a red line skill. This is yellow line skill. This is also yellow. This is red. As you can see, I have all the red and yellow all combined into one. So Fury of Blades, this is one of your highest damaging AoE skills. Devastating Strike is one of your highest damaging red line skill. Exchange of Blows. Exchange of Blows will increase, as you can see, is plus 29.2% exchange of blows melee damage. What you don't know is that it does not increase the reflect damage, but rather it increases your physical mastery. So right now my physical mastery is at 375. So if I use Exchange of Blows, it will increase to, as you can see, 417%. It went up by 29% when I use Exchange of Blows. So Exchange of Blows melee damage increases your physical mastery, which means all your other skills are going to be increased. It has a duration of 15 seconds. It's almost like a controlled burn. That's the way I think of it. Or it's like a Great Cleave. Great Cleave also increases your outgoing damage by 25%. And it lasts for 40 seconds when you have a Swappy. Merciful Strike. Merciful Strike has 100% crit chance when you're in red line. So when you have the damage legacy, your Merciful Strike crits is going to do quite a bit of damage. Raging Blade, also one of your high damage AoE skills. Very good for AoE line, yellow champ. Blade Wall. Blade Wall is also one of the skills that are really good with dual wield. When I dual wield, as you can see, I have 2 attacks. Compared to two-hander, I only get 1 attack. So dual wield really increases some of your AoE attack numbers. Sprint and Fear Nothing. This is the Swappy I use when I need to use Fear Nothing or Sprint. So when I equip this sword, and now look at my Sprint. It has 45-second duration. And also my Fear Nothing is now 15-second cooldown. So what I do is I simply equip this sword, use Fear Nothing, and then I equip back to my regular sword. Oh, that actually did not work. So you have to wait a little bit longer after using the skill, just so that it can have effect. Stun and Cleave. This one will increase your horn stun duration, and that is your item horn. So right now, as you can see, my Doomfold horn has a 5-second stun, But if I use my regular if I use my swappy, now my horn does a 10-second stun duration. Is really useful when you're in places like moors, or if you need to be in a CC fight. For example, one place I can think of that this horn really comes in handy is actually in Lost Temple. In Lost Temple, the last boss, where there are so many maggot spawns, you can use your horn to mass interrupt maggot inductions. Same thing for the Great Cleave duration. I haven't leveled this rune up all the way yet, but once I do, Great Cleave duration is going to increase to 10 seconds. So I can use my stun and cleave, use my Great Cleave, and now my Great Cleave is going to have, now my Great Cleave has increased duration. So when you're in yellow line, it's very nice to have this swappy so that you can swap to this specific swappy, use Great Cleave, and quickly go back to your regular rune to deal more damage. Now it just frees up an open spot, and also the Great Cleave duration does not exist for post imbuement. So in order to get the Great Cleave duration, you cannot actually imbue the legacy. Same thing for sprint duration. You cannot imbue the legacy, or else it will just disappear. It will turn into sprint evade, and also this one I'm not too sure what it turns into, but it's basically lost. That concludes my champion ally video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that teaches you a little bit more about champions. Thank you very much, and take care.